What up guys, Miguel here of Tech, and we've now spent a good amount of time with the Galaxy S23 Ultra to give you the lowdown on whether Samsung's big screen flagship is worth it or not. Does it live up to the Ultra name? Let's find out. The S23 Ultra's design is almost identical as the S22 Ultra, but Samsung has opted to make the S23 Ultra boxier and flatter at the top and the bottom. The massive curved display is less pronounced and has tighter edges, while the aluminum frame on the side is again boxier and adopts a more rigid and linear structure. In our opinion, the more rigid and box-like screen and frame help the phone feel more ergonomic in the hand, but we also feel like these small changes to the S23 Ultra really refines the original design of last year's S22 Ultra. At the back, we have the same camera layout from last year, with the camera rings being slightly bigger. We got Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the front and back panel. However, our review unit still got a few scratches from everyday use, so you may want to get a case and a screen protector for your own device. The S23 Ultra comes with an IP68 water and dust resistance rating, which is also the same as last year. And out of the different colors that the S23 Ultra is coming in, we really love the green colorway that we have in our own review unit. If you aren't a fan of green, they also have lavender, cream, and black options available as well. For the display, it's the same 6.8-inch Dynamic AMOLED 2X panel from last year. It runs at 120 Hz, has 500 pixels per inch, and can reach up to 1,750 nits of peak brightness. The S23 Ultra's panel is color accurate with deep blacks, as expected on an AMOLED 2X panel. The 1,750 nits of peak brightness also make the screen easily visible in broad daylight. All we can say is, when it comes to smartphone displays, Samsung really still is ahead of the pack. Moving on, the speakers on this thing sound really good. It's noticeably better than the S23 Ultra with a fuller soundstage. It has good bass for a smartphone, and the overall sound quality is well balanced and fine-tuned. For performance, the S23 Ultra rocks the top-of-the-line Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and an Adreno 740 GPU. It can also come with either 8 or 12 GB of RAM with either 256, 512, or 1 TB of internal UFS 4 storage. The unit we have is the 12 GB of RAM plus 256 GB of internal storage configuration. Sadly, the S23 Ultra does not have a microSD card slot for expansion. But do tell us in the comment section below if you guys still even use that feature. What makes the S23 Ultra's chipset special is that it is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip made for Galaxy. That made for Galaxy chip runs at a slightly higher clock speed than the other Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chips out there, but more importantly, this means that all models of the S23 Ultra, including those shipping into the Philippines, will be getting the latest Qualcomm chip and not the slightly slower and prone to overheating Exynos. For benchmarks, here are the results that we got. As expected, on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 SoC, performance is quick and snappy. Multitasking is buttery smooth with no hiccups when switching between apps. The S Pen is also improved with less latency than last year's S22. For gaming, the S23 Ultra is a beast. Even at the max graphics settings, any game runs with no issue. No surprises here. For the cameras, the S23 Ultra can shoot 200 megapixel RAW, but for normal shots, it pixel bins and produces a 12.5 megapixel image. Photo quality by far is the best in its class. Skin tones are natural, HDR and post-processing aren't overdone. The color science on the S23 Ultra's camera is also improved. You can check out our camera comparison of the S23 Ultra versus the other big phone king, Apple's iPhone 14 Pro Max, over here to see how it fares. Photos are generally on the warmer side, but we did find that the Ultra's camera tends to over-sharpen a bit more than our liking. The included 100x zoom feature here is a little meh to decent at best. It's more of a cool gimmick than something we'd actually use day to day, but it's nice to know it's there if you need it. For camera buffs who want to use the 200 megapixel camera, the images it produces are sharp and well balanced. But you will have to take into account the significantly slower shutter lag and large file size when shooting in this mode. We recommend using a 50 megapixel option instead, which has slightly less shutter lag with a file that is not as big as the 200 megapixel image. Selfies are better than last year, producing a clear photo and accurately capturing skin tones. For the video side of things, the S23 Ultra's super steady mode is insane. It can produce really smooth looking video even with shaking or bobbing around. Even with super steady turned off, the video output is still stable enough to be usable. The Ultra can shoot up to 8K footage at 24 or 30 frames per second. There really isn't a night and day difference between the S22 Ultra, but the quality has definitely improved. For software, we have the latest version of Samsung's One UI based on Android 13. It has minimal bloatware and a clean interface that's become really refined ever since Samsung introduced One UI back in 2018. There are a few Samsung apps here and there, but they don't detract much from the user experience. Haptic feedback is rock solid when typing, providing a good tactile response when messaging or writing. We also really appreciate how Samsung integrated haptics into One UI's system animations too, making the phone experience feel refined and cohesive. For battery, the S23 Ultra packs a 5000 mAh cell. The S23 Ultra lasts a whole day of heavy use with at least 20% remaining. It only has 45 watts of wired fast charging, which is certainly not up to par with the fastest charging standards out there. But we do understand that Samsung may be taking a more conservative approach given the whole Note 7 fiasco. Aside from that, the Ultra includes 15-watt wireless charging and 4.5-watt reverse wireless charging. In our proprietary battery loop test, the S23 Ultra lasted for 21 hours and 8 minutes. And on PCMark's Work 3.0 battery test, it recorded 14 hours and 33 minutes, which is really good, especially with the S23 Ultra's large display and extensive feature set. In conclusion, we love the slight changes in the S23 Ultra's design, the impressive set of cameras with fine-tuned software, as well as its video capabilities, and of course, that welcome Snapdragon chipset upgrade. But if you have the S22 Ultra and are planning to get the S23 Ultra, you might want to wait for the next or next Ultra device to arrive, as this is definitely more of a refresh to the lineup than an innovative next-gen device. Samsung's Galaxy S23 Ultra is available at an expected flagship price of 81,990 pesos and 89,990 pesos for the 256GB and 512GB variants respectively. For those who want the latest and greatest that Samsung has to offer in 2023, the Galaxy S23 Ultra lives up to its name. So, what do you guys think of Samsung's Galaxy S23 Ultra? Let us know in the comment section below. But if you found this video helpful or enjoyable, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to get notified of future uploads. Be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Miguel, and I will see you in the next one.